Hey,
There it is. Ooh, killed that fly.
boom. What's up? Dave and Johnny live. We are now live.
We are. And we're here.
We're here, everybody. We're actually live. What's going on, Johnny North? How's everybody doing? Another week has gone by. We're a week away from TLC now, which is
Yep.
pretty exciting. We've got, the UFC in Toronto tomorrow night.
You're not too excited for that, though.
What do you mean I'm not too excited? I'm all right. It'll be all right.
You didn't go to Toronto. You usually go to Toronto for these things.
Yeah, I didn't go to Toronto this time. I don't know. I just didn't. I didn't feel like it. Yeah. The
What's
card.
not
What I mean, you look at past cards in Toronto that I've gone for, right?
Mm-hmm.
Who headlined those cards?
GSP?
GSP, John Jones several times.
Yep.
You know, it's more of a draw to bring me in and make me travel when those guys are fighting in Toronto. Max Holloway and Brian Ortega, I mean, no disrespect to them. I just I don't know, it wasn't just about the fight, really. It wasn't about the card. It's a good card. I'd love to see Joanna fight. That would have been really cool.
Right.
You know, I'm not going. Fred's going. Fred's going. He's repping for us, so, you know. Just didn't work out this time.
It's too bad.
We'll go another time. You know.
It'll never come back to Montreal, though, unfortunately.
You don't think the UFC's ever going to come back to Montreal?
When's the last time they were in Montreal?
It was the Demetrius Johnson card. It was a while ago. I could tell you in a second. It was, UFC 1...
I think Rampage was on.
Was it 186? Is that possible?
He's pretty bad.
Yeah, it was UFC 186. Man, look at me. I'm pretty good. Come on,
Very good.
that's pretty good.
Yeah.
186, April 25th, 2015 at the Bell Center was the last UFC here. When was the last UFC in Toronto, though?
I feel like last year they had one, didn't they? They have one every year, don't they?
Did they have one last year?
If not last year, they definitely had one the year before.
I don't think I went to the one last year. If they had one. Anybody know who main evented the Toronto card last year? I have no idea. Did they do one even? UFC Toronto? I don't know. UFC 206 was in 2016. I think that may have been the last time they did one in Toronto.
And Max Holloway was on it, too. Wow.
Holloway main evented against Anthony Pettis.
Huh.
I wasn't there either.
Well, again, this not the greatest card.
Yeah, well, you know, the UFC does their big shows now mostly in Vegas or New York. And big fights in, you know, Canada don't seem to be happening.
It's too bad.
I mean, I'm not saying that this isn't a big fight, but it's not a huge pay-per-view. You know, the UFC's doing 2 pay-per-views in December. The big pay-per-view is at the end of the month when John Jones is fighting. Where's John Jones fighting Alexander Gustafsson? Last time they fought, it was in Toronto. I was there. It was incredible. This time, they're fighting in...
Vegas?
Of course. It's just the way it is.
Well, yeah. Vegas is awesome.
You know. It is what it is, John. What are you going to do?
Well, you're not going to go. That's what you're going to do.
That's right. That's right. You went to the movies this week.
I did.
What did you go see?
I saw On the Basis of Sex.
Okay. What is that? As I tweet out that we're on.
Well, it's about the Ginsburgs, a family, a law family, that struggled with gender discrimination. This was back in the 50 to 70 period. And there was an issue that in the Constitution that it would discriminate against gender. Many laws discriminate against gender.
What?
Yeah, a lot of the laws because like men and women weren't equal,
Right.
according to the Constitution.
What period of time is this?
This is around. Well, it first starts in the 50s, where they're like in Harvard, She's one of the first females, by the way. Ruth Ginsburg was one of the first females who went to Harvard.
Okay.
And they had to explain themselves why they got a position instead of a man. They had to get up in front of everybody and explain to them why they got it instead of a man. It was a very embarrassing situation, but that's what they had to deal with. They weren't even allowed to talk in court back then, women in the 50s.
Okay. Yeah.
It was rough. It was really rough. And then fast forward to the 70s, and there's more protests. It's more radical movements. They say social radicals.
Yeah.
And
she's a Supreme Court justice, right? This is the story of the Supreme Court's justice.
Well, she's a
Ruth
teacher.
Bader Ginsburg.
Because
is that who we're talking about, though?
Yeah. But at this point,
okay.
she's a teacher.
Okay.
Because she can't become a lawyer because no one will hire her because she's a woman.
So this is her story.
Yeah. Oh, her family story too, because it also involves her husband and their children as well.
Okay, but it's mostly about her.
Yeah, she's the star.
Yeah. Okay. That would have been a way easier way to explain what this movie was. It's the life story of Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Right?
Yeah, but
is it?
It is, but like
that's what we're talking about here, right? I have no idea what this movie is.
Right.
I didn't see it, you saw it.
Yeah. But it's pretty much just her as a teacher though, and this is her first time actually in court because she never got the opportunity to be in court before.
Okay.
And, you know, it was historic.
Mm-hmm.
Because this broke down barriers that was written in the Constitution discriminating against gender. And it's funny, too, like, a lot of it is for women rights, right? But this was actually for men rights. Because for men caretakers, it discriminated against them.
Caretakers?
Yeah.
What's a caretaker?
Like someone who takes care of, like, an older person.
Okay.
And the law actually discriminated against men because it was meant for women.
Okay.
So they actually fought for a man instead in this case. But this would end up changing the laws as well throughout the whole Constitution. There's so many laws that had changed.
This movie sounds so boring. You are not selling this movie to me. It sounds awful.
You're not big on law. I understand that.
It just sounds very procedural.
A little bit, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And it's funny too. This was filmed in Montreal, by the way.
Oh, okay.
On Saint Jacques, like actually not too far in NDG from where I am, actually. So, I had no idea this was actually filming right down the street, but apparently it was. And it's like, I noticed this one scene. I'm like, hey, that looks like Saint Jacques, and it was.
Is this an American movie?
It is. But filmed here, so that's kind of cool.
Uh-huh. That's kind of cool.
Yeah.
So, did you like it?
Well, again, this is done mainly in a court, right? So, I could see, with you especially, it might be kind of boring. I thought it was very exciting. I thought, for me, the last 20 minutes, I was like, wow, this is really interesting. Really intriguing. And they're just debating in court. And I was like on the edge of my seat with that.
I feel like you like every movie you go see, though. Most, like, I can't remember a single Johnny North movie review here where you come and you're like, I didn't really like it. You always you always find the good in every movie, John. It's nice. It's a nice movie review. It's always positive. Every movie you see, you're always like, I like it. It was really fascinating, or, lesbian sex, or thumb in the butt, or, whatever.
That's a little bit more extreme.
Well, those are the other movies that you talk about on this show.
Right.
So, it's just interesting to me that you always like the movie. You can't come up with one movie that you've seen, that you've reviewed, that you don't like.
That's not true. I saw Neighbors 2, and that was terrible. The first one was good. The second one, though, why did we have to sit through that?
Neighbors 2.
Neighbors 2, yeah.
You did not like Neighbors 2.
Yeah, with Seth Rogen, yeah. Zach Pratt.
By all means, don't see Neighbors 2, because if Johnny North didn't like it, it must be terrible. Right?
I'm very much like how Wally likes a lot of stuff in wrestling, but there's certain things he doesn't like in wrestling. Much like Corey Graves. So Corey Graves must be really bad if Wally doesn't like him. That's my standard on looking on things like that.
You think of Wally and what he thinks, yeah?
We think a lot alike.
Sure. Maybe you do. I don't know. I don't see into your brains. Okay, so you liked the movie, John? You enjoyed it?
I think you'd enjoy it too. It just
I might.
you'd have to sit through 2 hours. That might be tough for you.
I don't like sitting through whole movies. I don't like it. I don't like going to the movies, really. I don't go very often. I can't remember the last time I went.
Machete.
No, it was more recent than that, but I can't remember. I'm really like at a loss. It may have been that John Goodman movie, still, that I saw in the theater. I don't know. I don't go see a lot of movies. It just doesn't happen.
It's all right.
You go see the movies for both of us. I can't think of any movie that I've seen recently, like going to movies, I see things on TV and Netflix and so on, but I don't really go to the movies. I go to other things sometimes, I guess. Not really.
Events. Yeah, you go to concerts.
I go to fights and wrestling matches. That's where I go. That's where I like to go to. 90 Day Fiance, did you see it this week?
I saw bits and pieces, highlights. It seemed kind of controversial this week. All the racist comments thrown towards Jay and Ashley. It's pretty rough, man.
Yeah, that was interesting there with Ashley, who is white American, and Jay, who is a Jamaican man. And there's a lot of they had a wedding website,
Yeah.
right? And people were putting negative comments about them, and some people had like dummy accounts, and they were using the N-word about this guy Jay, which was really shocking to me. It's like, wow, why do people care so much? What's going on here with Ashley? That's what made me question things with Ashley, because it's like, why are these people saying such negative things? Or is it just that they're racist? Or do they not like you for a certain, for a particular reason or something? It's odd that, on a wedding website that there would be these kinds of attacks.
Mm-hmm.
Not to say that it couldn't just be random racist people. And not to defend that kind of racism is terrible, right? But you kind of wonder, like, well, why is this happening? It's odd, it's strange, and I think they showed a preview for the next episode where they're maybe canceling the wedding because of it. So,
Well, I feel it happened in a prior episode where you saw they were just like walking around a store and people were kind of looking at them funny because just there's black and white.
there was only white people in the town that she lived.
I think a lot of her friends are probably going against her, I think. And probably like sending terrible messages, telling people, oh, send these horrible messages or this is happening. And I think people are plotting against her.
Maybe. I don't know what it is there with the Jay and Ashley. I don't know. She's like 31. He's 20 years old. They don't seem to be on the same page for a lot of things. Who knows? She has 2 kids that are not really in the picture on the show, which is maybe a good thing. But I wonder how that works with him. 20 years old. She's got 2 kids here, so I don't know.
Well, we haven't even got to that problem yet.
Well, I don't
We have
think
other
we're going
problems.
to on the show. Yeah, there's other things going on. So it's a strange deal with that couple. The other couples, what did they do this week? Feel like Asuelu took more punishment from Kehlani. More questioning of him being a father. But I think everything's going to turn out there. I think a lot of that is for the camera.
I don't know. He seemed to take it pretty hard, though.
He does, yeah, for sure.
Like, he just shuts down, and he does that all the time. And, like, how many times can that work?
Yeah. Larissa wants Colty to move out of their place with the mom.
Right.
They want to move away from the mom, and Colty doesn't seem too down with leaving his mother. And the mother seems upset about it. The mother is mad that her 33, 34-year-old son, how old is this guy?
I think 33, yeah.
Okay, 33-year-old son you're a mother, okay? Your 33-year-old son lives with you. He's finally found a woman who wants to marry him, who wants to be with him, and who wants him to move out of his house with his mother, and you're against it?
Yeah, some people have a hard time letting go. It's sad, but
I mean, come on. Debbie, the mom, she needs to let go of Colty. What is she doing? It's ridiculous. You gotta let go.
well, I understand. Maybe she just doesn't like Larissa that much. I
Yeah,
get
well,
that.
maybe, but like, at 33 years old, you would think the mom would be desperate for the guy to move on and find a wife. Anybody at that point.
Well, she's lonely too, I guess. You know, she needs somebody around.
I don't know. AJ is watching. He says, typical Italian household to me. I don't think they're Italian, AJ, but maybe that is how it works in your community. I don't know. AJ is Italian, but he does not live with his mother. But he's also a little bit, I mean, he's not 33. He's a little older than that. Nevertheless, I'm glad AJ doesn't live with his mom. That'd be strange. You know? AJ says she kicked me out. See, I kind of believe that.
Well, it's
He
for the
would.
best if that was the case. If your mom kicked you out of your house, it was for your own betterment. Because I can only
She kicked
imagine
me out.
when you brought a girl home how that could have been. Like, I mean, imagine, especially AJ the way he is. Like,
Is that true? I wonder if that's true. He says he was her best tenant. Unbelievable. I wonder if his mom really did kick him out. We're going to explore more on that tonight on Ringside Report Radio, AJ. Did your mom kick you out? Or did you move out on your own?
have her call into the show tonight. That'd be
Yeah,
great.
I know she's going to be listening. Because AJ always says, oh, my mom's listening. It's like 1 in the morning. She's up. He's calling her after the show. Probably waking her up. No wonder she kicked you out, AJ. He says, no, bro, she listens. Are you kidding me?
So then call in. Good, great.
Yeah, well, maybe we can get your mom to call in then, AJ. How about that? That would be fantastic.
It would be, yeah.
Oh, my goodness. So, Ringside Report Radio tonight at midnight on TSN 690. You're going to want to listen in. Not only will we be talking about UFC 231 going down tomorrow in Toronto. Who you got, Holloway or Ortega? Shevchenko or Joanna? Good fights. But we're going to talk about AJ and whether or not he was kicked out of his mom's house. And also, Fred is not going to be in with us. Like I said, Fred is going to be in Toronto watching UFC 231. So he's in Toronto. And in his place will be our buddy Matt Casavant,
Wow.
who's a boxing expert. And he's going to talk about all the news in boxing lately. He's going to give us an update on the condition of Adonis Stevenson, and see how he's doing.
Cool.
Obviously, our thoughts are with him. It's a real sad deal when any fighter goes down like that. And he's also going to talk about the Tyson Fury Deontay Wilder fight that happened this past Saturday night that I did watch. That I thought Fury probably won, but I'm not a boxing expert, so that's why we have our man Matt to come in tonight in studio with us for the hour. So we'll talk boxing and MMA. And Anthony, we'll talk about AJ as we always do. Anthony Jr.
Should be a good show.
Should be fun tonight. AJ says Fred's at the strip joint. He doesn't ever... When Fred is like not in studio, AJ always accuses him of like going to strip clubs or doing nefarious deeds, which is not true. Fred is a family man and he's just doing whatever he says he's doing. All right.
He's got 2 kids. He's got time to go to the strip joint too. Like,
No, I don't think so. That's AJ, man. AJ's projecting his own lifestyle. AJ wants to do a live show at his mom's for Christmas. We could do that, AJ.
On Christmas Day?
Not Christmas Day. I'm busy Christmas Day, but we could do it like December 23rd or something. Do a live special from AJ's mom's, AJ family Christmas.
It's an idea. Yeah.
AJ family Festivus, because it'll be December 23rd.
Right.
Isn't that Festivus?
Was it after Christmas?
No, I don't think so. I think it's December 23rd.
Okay.
Correct me, somebody, if I'm wrong, but I think Festivus is officially December 23rd. Can I ask Google? Let me ask Google. Hey, Google.
I can't connect to your Wi-Fi network.
What?
Connect to Wi-Fi from your Google Home app under devices. Then
What?
Google,
Okay, Google, stop.
Google
What are you
doesn't
talking
like
about?
you right now.
Wi-Fi network.
Okay, I don't know. Google's messing up.
Your Google Home app.
Too much
Freaking
going on
Google.
right now.
I guess. I'm pretty sure Festivus is December 23rd. What day is Festivus? Yeah, December 23rd, like I said.
You're up on your Seinfeld more than me.
Yeah,
That's good.
definitely. What else you got, Johnny North? Are we wrapping this show up?
I guess final comments, yeah?
Final comments? AJ, you got some final comments? Something about George Costanza, he's saying. He's making a lot of comments. You know when AJ jumps on, it just gets flooded with AJ.
It's the AJ show practically now, yeah.
Derek John is there listening, but he's working on something, so he's not participating in the chat. Shout out to you, my man, Derek John. A lot of conversation this week about professional wrestling. Always good talking to you on Twitter, man.
And Habs talk too. Always good.
I don't get involved in that. I know nothing about that. Are they doing well?
They're doing pretty good.
Yeah?
Not great, but, okay.
AJ just said...
What did AJ just say?
He says, my condolences to British Bulldog. I don't even know what that means.
Good.
AJ, what do you mean by that? Do you mean...
You know what he means.
I know what he means, but like... You talking about the Dynamite Kid?
Because they were called the British Bulldog.
Yeah, I know, but
Yeah.
like...
That's why.
Do you think he's Davy Boy Smith? Like, AJ doesn't know the difference. Or is he saying, did the dog not die? Well, which guy... See, there was the British Bulldogs. Davy Boy Smith, the British Bulldog, who's known as the British Bulldog. So when you say the British Bulldog, you're talking about Davy Boy Smith, who died several years ago.
Right.
Right? But his tag team partner, Dynamite Kid, he passed away this week. And that's what AJ's referring to, but he's a little bit confused.
Well, that's all right. He's not.
But it is good that he brought that up because we should say a few words about the Dynamite Kid. This guy was the light heavyweight wrestler. There would be no Daniel Bryan, Chris Jericho, Rey Mysterio, Chris Benoit, Dean Malenko, Eddie Guerrero, any of these guys under 6 feet tall that had any kind of success in professional wrestling would not exist if it were not for the Dynamite Kid. He broke down all those barriers for all those guys. He was the only guy in the WWF at the time who had any kind of success under 6 feet tall.
Yeah.
He was an incredible wrestler. A very mean man, from what I understand, from people who knew him. Maybe not the best guy, but one of the greatest professional wrestlers of all time. And that can't be forgotten. And he should be in the WWE Hall of Fame, and he probably will be posthumously, which is the easier way for the WWE to do it, because there was no way that they were getting the Dynamite Kid, Tom Billington, to either show up, and if he did show up, oh boy, you didn't want to hear what he was going to say. So, he'll probably go into the Hall of Fame. He deserves to go into the Hall of Fame. He's one of the greatest of all time. His last years were not spent well. He was in really bad shape, physically. Couldn't really get around. He was in bad physical condition for a long time. Passed away at 60 years of age. It's really sad. He did put a lot of abuse on his body, not just in the ring, but outside the ring. Steroids like crazy, A lot of things that he did weren't good for your body, and he paid the price. But while he was on top, while he was doing his thing, nobody better. Maybe in the history of the game.
He's definitely up there. If you ever see his match with Bret Hart, they had in Stampede Wrestling, it's fantastic. For its time, it might be the best match in that time period. It's so good.
That stuff still holds up, though.
I know that's why it's so good. It still holds up, and that was like back in the '80s.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
I mean, Chris Benoit patterned his entire style after the Dynamite Kid. You know, that was his whole story. He looked up to Dynamite Kid as a kid, you know, as a child, and he wanted to be just like him, and he really kind of became just like him. So if you didn't watch Dynamite Kid, and you did watch Chris Benoit because you're a little bit younger, right? It was pretty much the same. Very similar.
Very similar, yeah. It's just sad that Dynamite, his career ended at 30. So, last 30 years, he didn't get to wrestle.
30.
It's terrible when you think about it. It just goes to show you, like, in an instant, it's gone.
And it was back and neck issues, right?
It was just a simple thing. Like, a lot of things just added up over time, but he just ran the ropes and he just never got up after that.
What happened?
Well, just a lot of pain on his back, a lot of issues, and I'm sure the road life wasn't easy. All the drugs, too. It just added up and snap.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a sad story. You know, it's a sad story and a cautionary tale for professional wrestlers. You know, don't do what Dynamite did because it doesn't end well.
Oh, he took a chance. He took a risk.
Yeah. But still, if you look at that era, you know, guys were huge back then.
It was tough for him.
It was really tough. It was really tough. This guy, what he did, it changed wrestling forever. You know, there would be no Bret Hart having success. There would be no Shawn Michaels having success had Dynamite Kid not kind of opened the eyes to a smaller guy that could work. They may not be as big, but man, they could work circles around these bigger guys. He's not Hogan, but he could do his thing, you know? And from what I understand, Vince McMahon, Vince wasn't looking at Bret Hart. He wasn't looking at anyone from Stampede or at Davey or anybody. He was looking at Dynamite. He wanted to bring Dynamite in.
Right.
And Stu was like, well, you gotta take Bret and Davey too, type of deal. They were like extra. The only reason they got the shot in the WWE, WWF at the time, was because of Dynamite Kid. He's the guy they wanted.
Thankfully, things worked out the way they did. For them, anyways. It's unfortunate what happened with Dynamite, but, you know, you reap what you sow, unfortunately.
Rough. Tough, I mean, are we going to end the show? We're going to end the show on...
Well, there's also...
did Larry the Axe pass away too?
Yeah, I was just going to mention that.
Oh, man. Jeez.
That's a rough week.
I didn't even know that.
But he was 82, like...
Yeah, well, he lived a long life, you know? Sad, though, he outlived his son, you know, Kurt Hennig, the great Mr. Perfect, who passed away several years ago. But he did get to be there for his grandson, Curtis Axel, in the WWE, Joe Hennig. Wow. Yeah.
Rough week.
He was a guy I didn't really see wrestle that much. I don't know as much about him as I do know about the Dynamite Kid. You know, he was way before my time.
I remember a little bit in AWA. I think he teamed with Kurt, and I think he may have managed Kurt a couple of times too.
Yeah,
that was about it. It was definitely near the tail end of his career.
But he had a great career in the business, and he's a well-respected guy. And of course, the legacy, you know, 3 generations that he started, and his son. I mean, can't say enough about Kurt Hennig, one of the greatest wrestlers of all time.
Yeah, you just kind of wish that, you know, his grandson would have the name as well. I think Curtis Axel, they need to work on that, the name-wise anyways.
I always thought Joe Hennig just worked fine. Just be Joe Hennig.
Yeah, what's wrong with that?
I don't know. Well, Vince likes to change your name, you know?
Well,
and Axel, right? It's after Larry the Axe Hennig. That's the tribute there. And Curtis is, like Kurt Hennig, so he's Curtis Axel.
Could be Curtis Axel Hennig. Nothing wrong with that.
I guess. Where is he? Where is the B team?
They run the pre-show in Survivor Series.
Not on Raw.
Well, can't make it on Raw. not good enough to make it on Raw the way Raw is these days.
Former tag team champions.
Raw's too good, you know. Like Slater and Rhino have to make it instead.
All right, more on Raw tomorrow night on Wrestling Uncensored. Big shout out to AJ for joining us on the chat. AJ, I'll talk to you tonight on Ringside Report Radio. Antoinette. No, I'm not in Toronto for the UFC. I was talking about that earlier. But Fred is in the city, or I think he will be at some point soon. Shout out to Franco, Derek John, everybody checking in. Bob Burgers. I don't know who Bob Burgers is. Haven't seen you before, but I like the name because the show is pretty excellent. I like Bob's Burgers.
I like Archer. I like the crossover episode they did.
I haven't seen that. I haven't seen Archer, and I don't know what you're talking about. But I do like Bob's Burgers.
Season 4 of Archer, they do the crossover. Same voice.
All right.
It's a good episode.
Cool. So join us tonight on Ringside Report Radio, and then tomorrow night for Wrestling Uncensored, and next week for another episode of Dave and Johnny Live.